Hello and welcome into another episode of the SorareAndrews podcast brought to you by RotoWire. I am Andrew Laird. With me as always is Andy Black. And today we have another special guest, Maxime Hagenbouger from SorareData coming to us again. Maxime, good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully your listeners and viewers won't say, oh no, this guy again.
To be honest, I was talking to my kids about how I was going to do this show. And they were like, oh, is it with the guy in France? And I was like, it is actually. And they were like, that guy's great. I still can't believe that he did that with you on his birthday a few weeks ago. And I was like, the things that like kids remember is nuts. But you're like one of their favorite people, just so you know.
Yeah, great. So they are my favorite people also, even if I don't know them.
My heart is broken.
Sorry, Andy. There's just something about the accent that just gets them. The fact that like Maxime is in the future because it's like 6 hours ahead, so he knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of magic when it comes to people in Europe when we're just stuck back here 6 hours behind.
Yeah, England is going to lose tonight, and Scotland is going to win at the last minute.
Ooh!
Just spoiling you guys.
What's the final score?
2-1. 2-1.
Okay. So no clean sheets either.
Yeah, and Declan Rice will be assisting and leading the way for my D3 All-Star to be first this week.
All right. Well, at least you're completely unbiased about the projection, so that's good.
Bold predictions, I would say.
Yeah. So we were going to do this earlier in the week, and then we didn't. So, but first off, Maxime, thank you very much for setting up the RotoWire SorareData Cup on SorareData. We have a good number of people who have entered. Good luck to all. I was talking before we went live that I've already messed up my lineup. And so I'm just in this purgatory of hoping to be a lucky loser this week.
Maybe it's worth...
I don't want to say that I'm looking for a little help, but, just in case.
Yeah, maybe it's worth explaining what is a lucky loser because... there are cup rules on the site, but who reads the rule or who even reads the rules anyway? Even when they ask for it, I had like 5 or 6 people when the rules weren't there asking for them. But anyway, a lucky loser is basically because we had like more than 700 people, like 760 or so. 760. And, you have to go to 512 people for the next round to be a good round, like a proper round with everyone getting a game. So basically we have like we're doing this like we have 1,024 participants, and so we're giving a match to everyone, and basically because we need to eliminate like 200 people, we need to qualify the rest by just getting the best scores from the teams that lost their games. So basically, if you score, I think between 250 and 300, you'll probably find, since MLS scores are usually a bit lower than what's expected in Europe or even Asia. No offense to anyone in the MLS,
harsh,
but
just harsh. I need some big scores from MLS guys this week because I'm also playing You Never Walk Alone in the Blackpool Cup. And so as I was explaining to somebody before, he's obviously lined up 5 Euro snobs, and I've got some MLS guys that are hopefully to take. Nothing would make me feel better than some MLS guys taking down an Mbappe captain lineup.
It's probably like a unique too. Like they're all unique.
It might have been. I think he has the Donnarumma unique as his goalie.
Nice.
But
Donnarumma might not play because Italy is already qualified, so they might just not play him. I didn't like playing Italy guys this week because you don't know if they are going to play because they're already qualified. So, I mean, Mbappe against Hungary is probably the best forward this week. Well, I mean, I'm captaining Mbappe in every cup, every league, every lineup I can. But yeah,
Is that because you
Donnarumma might
don't
be
have?
DNP.
Is that because you don't have Capper Shabilko?
That's probably it. Yeah, definitely. But the Zero Cup was also very difficult to line up a proper lineup, because man, so many choices and so many good choices, and you don't know what to pick. It's
I
pretty hard to
disagree.
be in Zero Screws.
I told Zara I didn't have enough good players.
And then he went and bought all the French guys.
You're pretty picky, I would say, because like you have Tony Kroos 3 times. No. But yeah, it's the first week where really that there are many choices, and there's no risk of anyone playing someone with exactly the same lineup as it was at the beginning of the cup. So yeah, exciting, and great to see Zuro losing in the second round, as it always happened in any cup or any league that is on SorareData. And the winner got a Quadrado card, so
Ooh.
that's a pretty nice prize.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the feedback that you got on that cup?
I mean,
because I thought it was a brilliant.
I knew the Zero choice was a bit controversial, I would say, but because he's a bit direct and sometimes gives a bit of a hard time, I would say, to people sending him offers, and yeah, sometimes people don't receive that well, and I understand that. But also, Zero is one of the guys that was supporting SorareData from the beginning and was really cool with the project and with me. And I mean, he was okay giving away like one of his cards if he loses in the competition, and also cards for the winner. So I mean, it won't be Zero every time, but it's a great cup to show the concept, and hopefully with the Griezmann, Dembele guys joining, hopefully I can reach out to some of them and do a Griezmann Cup,
Cool.
and with jerseys to win, etc. So that would be fun, even if you don't accept. I can do it anyway, but it's totally better. Or even Valouz, that is a French a YouTuber that is playing the game right now and promoting it on Twitter, etc. So I guess he would be open to maybe also hosting this kind of competition. But I mean, I didn't see any complaints, but I mean, it's a free-to-enter competition. It's not even your cards. It's like you're the manager now. Prove to everyone else that you're a good manager. Everyone has the same cards. There's no more. We could argue that with the national, the national teams, it was pretty much a mess the first round, because Sorare was not really, let's say, reliable in terms of data, like who were playing where in national teams. So I had to do this manually, and it was a nightmare to me to actually check all the teams in America and also in Europe. So maybe some people like played Japanese players thinking they were actually playing and were scored on Sorare. So maybe some people lost because of that. But otherwise, even though you had a bit of trouble picking your players at the beginning, now it's just like a free to enter competition and enjoying Sorare, even if you don't have the cards to play during this kind of slow period for Sorare.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure how to go down this road, but I'm going to go down it anyway. I think for how long it takes me to set lineups, and I obviously don't have nearly the cards that Zora does, going through to make one lineup, like I'm not sure if it was harder to make one lineup with all of his cards, or like I was putting myself in his shoes for the for an upcoming game week, like having to make a lineup for, because he obviously enters everything because he has the cards for it. That's a lot of work, and it's maybe a little overwhelming. Like I'm not there. I don't expect myself to ever be there, which is I'm fine with. But like, I like this idea because I think we actually talked about this the last time you were on, that the lineup builder, you can technically build other people's lineups. I mean, you can build lineups with other people's cards. You're not, you're not actually making them for them. But I kind of like the idea of expanding it and being like, not only just like a cup, but like make all of Zora's lineups this week. And, I could do it and you can do it and Andy could do it. And like, we have a competition that way. Like the possibilities are pretty cool for what you can do because we, have access to see all the cards that he has.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely something that is well underused right now. And yeah, I mean, looking forward to have more cups, and basically it's very scalable, a very scalable model for me. Like right now, creating a cup takes me like 15 to 20 minutes and maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of a game week and at the end of one. So, I mean, it's not taking too much of my time if everything goes well, obviously. But I could do like another cup like this starting like in August, but with a relatively smaller gallery, because I mean, what's interesting with Zoro is you have a lot of choices, but you have a lot of choices between very good players. And I would like to have like also a gallery with, let's say, like 100 players or something, but with definitely less choices in superstars, etc. Like a gallery with a lot of prospects or solid starters in Challenger Europe, for example, or even MLS. And also that would be a good measure of skills for people that say I'm a good manager, and that would be a great competition, I think.
I think it's a perfect setup to show Andy just how bad he is at making lineups with his own cards.
I was curious. Can you put limiters on the division or those tournaments that aren't available in like so rare? Like, could you do a U19 division or an over 35 division? Like, are those things? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. It's not something I explored, and mainly because my name is SorareData, or the company's name or the website name is SorareData, and I try to not lose too much focus on the market data and the player performance side. But yeah, obviously there are a lot of concepts to explore, and that would be fun to do.
Or even just a U23 tournament that kind of mirrors what they do.
Yeah, sure. I could do that pretty easily. Yeah.
Cool.
I was actually wondering if you got any interest in U23 private leagues.
I had one private league saying, "Hey guys, just enter U23 people," but like, I don't know. Private leagues are. I was excited at first with private leagues, and the interest started to dim a bit, like around 3 or 4, and I'm trying to find. I mean, if anyone wants to create a private league on SorareData or anywhere else, just do it. But I would want to find. I would like to find. Sorry. A concept where you still have interest in playing with your Sorare cards in private leagues. And I think that because SO5 is so lucrative, and even SD leagues are pretty lucrative, like you can get a really cool card if you play every week. Well, private leagues are basically like you play for fun. And when you have limited time to do it, when you have like SO5 competitions, like taking like 1 or 2 hours of your time, taking some time to play in private leagues is also a bit difficult to do. So yeah, anyone having ideas to spice up private leagues, ideas that are not SorareData paying people to play, obviously. I'm taking.
Do you think that just being able to say everyone has to put in a card that they could potentially lose if they, something like that? Like, I'm not sure where that.
That's probably technically gambling, right?
Right. That's what I was wondering.
Probably me ending up in prison for something or paying.
All right. So we'll avoid that
money.
idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bit sad because, obviously that would be something that would be very big, very fast, because I guess everyone wants to win more cards. And I know some people did it in the past privately, and I mean, it's fine if everyone agrees, but no regulation.
You can't be the one that's supporting it or implementing it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no regulation around it, it does not protect the players, and it also does not protect me from someone telling me, "Hey, give me back my card" or anything. And I don't want to get into this kind of troubles right now.
Yeah.
So once there's regulation, or once I move to Kurukasaro or anywhere in the planet that is like pretty flexible on gambling regulation, maybe I can do it. But until then,
when you finally buy that private island,
with my name on it, HE.
Do you think there's any chance that the competitions end up becoming a bigger part of SorareData than the actual data part?
No, I mean, to me, side games are fun because they answer to a need, and also Sorare is sponsoring the competitions, and also you have some very fine people like Black and others that sponsored the SD Cup, the first edition, and that's why it's working, and that's why I see it as a good thing to have on the platform. But as I've previously said, I think that SorareData is kind of a wrong name, because I see more SorareData as a companion, and where you can do a lot of things on the platform that you can't really do on Sorare. But I mean, the focus and why people use SorareData is not side games. They use side games a lot because it's interesting to play on SorareData. I mean, a fair amount of people have told me, like, I prefer side games, SD side games to SO5, etc. I find it more exciting. So I mean, I'm really happy that it suits users' needs, but at the end of the day, what people want to see on SorareData is price and stats and things that they don't see on Sorare, and that help them becoming a better manager.
So, like, what about, like, if Sorare came to you and said, we just want to do, like, all of the things that you do for the side games, we're just going to do them now. Are you saying go nuts, or like, how do you respond to that? I mean, I have no idea if they're doing that, but like, if they say, like, we're going to start doing, SO11 and we're going to do cups and leagues, like, would you prefer that stuff to be on Sorare?
Well, I'm not sure I would. It's a tough question, but let's say that I'm pretty sure Sorare is not going to do SD or SO11, whatever you call it, soon. I mean, games on SorareData, like 1v1 matchups, are cool, but they are also very unfair. That's why I introduced ELO in leagues, because you have to have like kind of a strength of schedule mechanism, so that people that win games against weak opponents get less points than others. But the format is very early, and it's not a good game format. To me, it's like, okay, it's working fine right now, but I need to, if I want to go deeper and further on 11, I mean, I need to find a mechanism where the defense you're playing against is actually affecting your team and your forwards are actually affecting the other team or anything. But I mean, just having a score at the end, and is your score higher or lower or equal to the other team, is very basic, and you can do so much more. There's a fantasy football game in France called MPG, and what it does is pretty much what I explained just a minute ago. Is like, if someone of your team scores a goal in real life, your team gets a goal, and depending on the score, like they also like rated like Sora does on a scale to 0 from 10, 0 to 10, sorry. You get a grade, and let's say if your forwards have a better rating than your defenders, they can score also a virtual goal. And at the end of the week, with everyone scoring real life goals or being rated at a certain level, you get a real life football score, like 4-3, 3-1, etc. And that way, the team that you are playing is affected by the other one, and vice versa. So that's very interesting, because you're not playing for points, and at the end you're just comparing the results. You're playing against someone and against a team, and the other performances, they really affect yours. So that's something I want to explore. Or we we bid farewell to Andrew, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if we are live still. I guess we
I think
are,
so.
but
That's really, really weird to me. Like, I feel like the performance already, like the performance of your players already kind of dictate whether you win or lose. Like, if my forward scores high, I'm going to do well in my game.
yeah.
I guess they might exponentially perform better if the defenders that I'm playing against perform really bad. Then my forward's goal might be worth more. I don't. How exactly does that work?
Let's say if we use Sorare, let's say that if the defenders that you're facing have like an average note of like 60, then your forwards might need to have like 70 or 80 to actually pass the defenders and face the goalie, and then you check the goalie score and the forward score, and you match
Oh
them
wow!
up. And if your forward have like a better score than the goalie, then you score a goal. So
Okay.
I do not want to steal the concept to them, because I think it's brilliant. Really, it's like really interesting, and the way to do matchups is really good. But I also think that there's a too big of a difference between goalkeeper scores and forward scores, because goalkeepers tend to go to 60 or 70, but not that much higher. And while forwards go to 100 pretty easily, I would say, or let's say they tend to go to 100 pretty easily. So, I mean, it requires a lot of work, a lot of thinking, but I don't see Sorare doing this just now. They have so much more to do on the product side, on the cards, on the market, on the technical side. But I think there are words on the street that they are going to become a way bigger company that they are right now. But
Yeah.
until then, I'm pretty sure that SD11 is going to stay on SorareData and not going to move to Sorare. But if they want to do it, fine.
The cool thing for you is you get to be the playground. You can do whatever you want. You can test it however you want. You can create something like complicated, complex, simple, whatever. You can do it, and it really gives, I think, Sorare a good idea of like, hey, this was a good idea. We should maybe do it, or they can at least see what you've done and kind of build on it.
That's also pretty frustrating, I would say, because
Certainly.
Like when you go on the Sorare player pages right now, you have like the averages over the last 5 and over the last 15. So
Yeah.
first they chose exactly the same number of games, but okay, that's fine. I mean, it's pretty okay to do that. But they also added like the number of games played, like the percentages of games played, and that's something that's on SorareData for quite some time right now, like let's say 8 months or something. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to be a playground, but I don't want to be the laboratory for Sorare and not getting anything out of it. So
Sure.
I need to find also concepts that won't be on Sorare and data that won't be on Sorare, and I have a pretty good idea on what's going to be on Sorare and not.
Well,
And focus
do
on
you
that.
collaborate with them quite a bit on things?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to discuss pretty often what they are going to do next and what I'm going to do next. And sure, there will be some overlaps, like because there are some data that I just can't not show.
Sure.
And they also on their side they have to show some market data or performance data. But what I try to do is, well, you're not going to do this, so I'm going to do it because I see value in this. And also, Sorare is selling cards, and they don't have interest in like showing too many market data that could lead people to buy some cards and some others not. So our data is not selling cards, so I can show whatever I want on the market data side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Just like I'm always curious, like I feel like you may have said previously that because all of this information is, or not all of it, but a vast majority of this information is public, because of the blockchain, like you want it on SorareData. And it does seem like sometimes there are reasons that Sorare wouldn't have it on their site, but I think people appreciate that it's on SorareData because ultimately, like, it seems like it's there to help us. It's not like we're trying to, I don't think Sorare is necessarily hiding it, but I think that there's stuff that like maybe it just doesn't benefit the site itself to show, but you're willing to show it. And I think that people have this trust in SorareData because they know that you're willing to show that stuff. That's all.
Yeah. Also, when you build a product like Sorare does, that is designed to convince like millions of people at the end, you don't want to show too many information that are not useful to people. And also, showing information is really tough to do because how do you make sure that people understand what you are actually showing? What I did once is like back in like let's say last summer was showing a SD score that was pretty much an indicator of whether the player was performant over like a large number of games. Like let's say if the SD score was high, that would mean that the player was scoring high and also pretty much the same every game. And that's a really interesting metric. But the problem is, like the cup rules, nobody reads the explanations. And they just don't understand why the SD score is helpful or why the SD score is in some cases better than the average. So I switched back to the average and not taking DNPs into account, and everything understands have averages. So I mean that's kind of the struggle when you're building up a product for millions of persons. Showing information might lose some people, and that's why also for SO5 live experience, me showing some more information, like the players that are playing in the game week, how much power do they have on the game week, where your team could end up with the scores right now, between like first or like 200th place. That sort of things, I don't think Sorare wants to show this on their website. I think they want to keep it simple. You go on Sorare, you check your scores, you check your rank, and that's it. If you want to go on SorareData, you have all the games, all the lineups, all the scores in real time, and you can see, well, let's say Neymar scores a goal. You can check the division and say, oh, is Neymar playing in my division, and how much it will affect me. And also, that's something I always wanted to explore, is what kind of metrics would be interesting for people following live SO5 tournaments to have. Like, I have many people asking me to have like which lineups can go up, and what player should I follow to actually see if I'm going to hold my rank or not. And these are things that are way more complicated than I actually thought. So I guess all these kinds of metrics that are for dedicated managers. I mean, SorareData is there not for people that are casually playing the game. It's there for people that actually want to, let's say, invest. I don't really like the word, but invest time and money in the platform and make good use of their galleries.
I like to say that they invest time and spend money.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I do on Sorare. Yeah. Apologies for any banging that you may hear. I showed you guys earlier that they're ripping the roof off the house next to me, and so there's just constant banging. So apologies if that gets through on this video or the podcast.
I'm not hearing it, but yeah.
Do you think more people use SorareData to find players they should target or cards to buy? Like, do you think it could be just 50-50 and one leads to the other, but we've talked previously that, like, at least I think the better way to buy cards is to find players you want first and then look for their cards, as opposed to just like going to the market and being like, oh, this guy seems cheap and okay, like, let me go do that. Like, do you think more people are using SorareData for the actual SO5, last 15 to find players they should be targeting, or are they just going to that? Like, I never used the live auctions tab until like 2 weeks ago. I'm like embarrassed every time I start using something that I don't on SorareData, because I'm like, the fact that I haven't used this from the beginning is infuriating to me. But like, even something as simple on that page is like, it shows the current price and what the lowest is on the market. And there's so many comments that people make, like, how did this card sell for this? Because the cheaper one on the market, there is a cheaper one already available. And like, this page just like lays it out for you. But do you think more people are using SorareData for players or for cards?
I mean, I'm not doing it for anything that you mentioned right now, because I'm not exploring the market, because I'm not buying cards right now. So I would say there are like so many different profiles using the website. Some are using SD to follow the SO5 tournaments in another way. That's what I do. I like to check games on the Game Week Center and live games while I'm watching the game on TV, for example. And yeah, checking SO5 results, etc. I find it way more, I don't know, friendly, that I would say, that's on the main sites. But I guess that some people are using SorareData to make profit on the cards that they are buying. Like, so many people are on Twitter saying, hey, I've made like 0.005 ETH on a player I just sold in the market. And people are using SorareData to do this, because when you go on the secondary market or the primary market, you can see, as you just said, the best market price and the average price, and you can spot cards that are very low on the market. And there were even some people doing a Chrome extension using SorareData to actually highlight the cards that were matching certain criteria, like, oh, this card is way too the price is way too low for the previous market prices, etc. So I guess, yeah, some people are just using SorareData to check the market. Yeah.
Is that Chrome extension like out there? Like people, is it public?
Yeah, it's public.
I have not even. Is that something you would ever do?
I had no idea that existed.
Like you hover over a card on Sorare and it maybe pulls it up in like the SorareData version?
No. I don't like Chrome extensions, and I don't think it's the right way to onboard people, etc. I'm not sure I would spend time on this, but if the community wants to do it, why not? I have no problem with that.
It doesn't bring traffic to your site is the big issue.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, basically that's pretty much it. And I don't have and if Sorare changes stuff, I need to adapt, etc. And come on, having 2 tabs on your browser is not something too complicated. So I mean, that's fine. But I don't know if someday Sorare just buys the whole site. It's everyone's fantasy except mine. Apparently, on the internet, everyone's telling me, "Oh, but Sorare is going to buy you someday." I'm like, okay, sure. But if they want to do it one day, sure, why not? But no, right now it's not.
I'm actually hoping you buy Sorare.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, sadly. I mean, one way it could happen is Sorare just doesn't find it's public or doesn't go to 1 million users, and I go to the DFS part of of football that I don't explore right now, and maybe find a bigger public and also people with way more money on DraftKings, etc. But I don't see another way of me buying Sorare, sadly. Rich man problems anyway. But the other kind of people using the website is just doing pretty much like scouting. Like, can you find a player that is matching your gallery and your needs? I mean, one cool thing I think I did lately is the similar players tab, and I mean, it gives you a completely different perspective on the player, because when you go on the Mbappe, let's check that the Mbappe similar player tab, you see that there are actually players that are matching Mbappe's last 15 average scores. Like right now, Sobolev, Larson, Malcolm, and the players that are way cheaper than Mbappe. So, I mean, yeah, let's say 3 profiles, SO5 experience, cards, buy them and sell them, and also player scouting, I would say.
Going back to what you said about watching live, it always throws me off when I talk to people in the middle of a game week and they show me their how their team is doing from Sorare, and I almost don't know how to read it. And it's like, it's the column, and I'm just like, okay, are you close? What do you? And I send them I'll send them the one from SorareData, and they're like, that's so much better. And it's like, I don't know how anyone tracks their scores any other way.
Yeah. I mean, that was it was like this way from the beginning. The page didn't change much from the creation of the website. So, I mean, I'm kind of happy the Sorare stays this way. It's also better for mobile browsing, the way they're doing it. But I'm looking forward to proposing a new way pretty soon.
I can't believe they haven't updated their leaderboards. I mean, the way yours are just so easy to look at and view and keep up to date with is amazing. And Laird and I have talked about this numerous times. Before a game week starts, it would be so great if we could see all of our lineups in one place. It drives me nuts that like I have to click into each one. Could you ever ingest the? I guess you couldn't take in the lineup data before the game week locks because it's not quote unquote public yet.
So I need to check, but if you're logged in with Sorare, I might have the authorization to do it for you. So let's say you go to a page on SorareData and say, fetch my lineups I've just built on Sorare. I could probably fetch them. But I guess that's why the lineup builder exists, and you can build your lineups on SorareData and just admire them on SorareData. But I know you don't do that, and I'm pretty...
Hey, I do use it. I just don't build them all out there.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't do is like I need to do this, integrate the weekly challenge on the lineup builder, and I'm so shameful for not doing this earlier.
Is it the comments that mess it up though?
You know, I have the comments on my database, but it's not the comments. It's just I don't really like comments. I don't think they are there to stay, and it's taking me too much time to integrate them properly, and because there are so many comments, and I just decided not to care about them. So sorry, common owners, but just too much work and too much hustle for this.
I assume it would take pretty significant integration with Sorare, but one of the tools that a lot of DFS content sites have is the ability to make your lineups on their site and then to import them to DraftKings or FanDuel. I've had like multiple people ask me as if I would have any idea, but like make just the lineup builder of submit this lineup in Sorare. That would be awesome.
Of course, that's definitely something I have in mind. But as you said, I mean, I didn't even try to do it with the permissions that they are giving me to do SorareData, but I want to do it the polite way and just asking them if I can do it. And I mean, to them, it's probably not really a good thing because it's not driving traffic to them. But at the end of the day, what's really important, I think, is people are still buying Sorare cards. So anything that helps people buying cards, I guess that's good. Just
they want people on their site to buy the cards, right?
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's pretty good for them. I don't have the chat that is on YouTube or etc. Showing, but if you guys have like comments or people that say hi, just
John,
I'm waving back.
A bid from last night on a Dotson that I was kind of eyeing. He got him though.
Like, how does that feel when you bid on a card and somebody else bids and they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting this because Black is trying to get it"?
No, yeah. There's a lot of cards where I just am like, okay, I can't let him get away that cheap. So I'll put in like I'll try to steal him at that price or whatever. But it may not be a guy like Dotson wasn't a guy I was like passionate in getting, but it was like, okay, if he's gonna go that cheap, I'll throw a bid in there and
that seems like something that is counter to what you have preached to me. Every time I mention a card I might buy, your response is, "How are you playing him?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "No, he's just cheap," or and you're like, "Buy cards to play," and I'm like, "But that's not fun." And then I end up with a card that I cannot sell and I don't play, and so
like he would be more of like a depth piece. Like I don't think he's going straight into a lineup. He might, I don't know. Like I probably have depth needs or U23 needs because I think he's U23 for another year. So I think that's one of the reasons I bet on him because he'd get one more year. But Yeah, I don't know. I like to pick up those depth pieces. Like if it were like a more elite player or something, I would have a lot more thought in the process of acquiring them or whatever. But when it's more of like, I think he's like a 50 average type guy. It's like a defensive mid who's just going to churn out 50 points. I don't know. Those are like pieces I like to have around, but I don't spend a lot of time like focusing on the why.
You know what happened to me the other day? That the only card I bought for the last, I don't know, 3 months was Hugo Lloris, the France goalkeeper. And first out of 100 went for 2.1. And at that time, we're definitely in price discovery. And I was like, okay, Neuer is on the market for 1.4. And I got a bit confused by SorareData because the last card that was sold for Neuer was like 1.2 or something, but I forgot it was the Champion Edition. So, of course, the Champion Edition is a bit overpriced compared to the other ones. And so I went into the tour, the second card auction, and was like, my limit is 1.3. It seems legit. Let's see how it goes. And I get overbid at 1 ETH or something. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Just let's send the 1.3 bid. And the funny thing was, I was praying to be overbid on this card. I was like, come on, please overbid, please. And I just got the card. And the other auction settled at 0.9 or something. So pretty dark day for me to just lose 20 to 30% in just one auction. Yeah, it feels bad, man.
I don't think at this point you can consider it a loss. Like, the utility is huge.
Yeah, I just checked.
Rather pay less, but
yeah, I checked Navas, my Navas card SO5 stats to just see that. Sure, a good goalkeeper is very useful, and I think he will help me getting good card. And he delivered because I won a card, a fantastic card during the weekly, which is one shady defender playing for Peru and in MLS. So I'm very happy. The place just in front of me got Palacios. So very happy. Always looking forward to getting my rewards, going on the website, checking who the next place and who the previous place got, and just smiling at the page.
That is a fun page if you end up with a good card and the person behind you or in front of you doesn't. But
yeah,
do you think the market will get screwed up by these kind of special edition cards?
Yeah, I don't know if screwed up because they are so special that it shouldn't affect the price too much. But at some point, I was thinking maybe I need to remove those cards from the price average. I don't know if that's correct. I'm not really sure. But again, if I do this, how do I inform all the users that I'm actually doing this? It's very difficult when you show information again, like to make sure that your users are actually understanding what they see. And so I'm not right now. All the averages take special edition cards into account, and I don't think it will change soon, but it's a legitimate question, and maybe I should do a better job at highlighting at least special editions.
It's funny what you said before about the Lloris price discovery, because it seems to me, at least on some of the cards that I've been watching, that the new MLS card price discovery works in the exact opposite direction that we've seen. So the example that I had was Pozzuelo. And so he wasn't one of the new, he was in this second wave of MLS cards. And I've been trying to get one for weeks. And I knew once the new cards came out, then they'd be a little cheaper. But because there just weren't new cards out, like the prices weren't moving. he was hurt, and so I think the people who had Pozuelo cards weren't willing to give him up for cheap because they shouldn't. I mean, he's an elite MLS player with an injury that he was coming back soon from. So the new card comes out, and he was basically, the ask prices, which I think were generally ridiculous, were like 0.5. And I thought maybe 0.4 would be able to be the range. The 1 of 100 goes for 0.204. And I'm like, this is awesome, because I'm used to seeing, new cards come out. The 1 of 100 is always the most expensive. And I'm like, I'm going to absolutely rob a Pozuelo here.
Yep.
And the one sold this morning for 0.335, like on auction.
Yeah, prices
Like,
are going up on him. It's
1 of
bizarre.
100 was absolutely the floor.
Yeah.
And it was just like, so I kept being like, well, if that's the floor, I'll wait. And then the next one was 0.24. And I'm like, boy, somebody misclicked there. And then it's like 0.24, 0.27. And I'm like, I'm dead. I'm not going to get this card. Right. Wrong way. And then making matters worse is that the people who had them smartly, I will give them credit for this, smartly did not see the 0.2. And they're like, oh, I have to really price mine down to sell it. Like, they probably paid much more than 0.2. And I apologize that I'm using only ETH here, but I continue to only really recognize that. But even dollar-wise, they're down. And so it's just weird to me how some cards, like obviously these France cards are more special edition than just a new Pozuelo card. But to see the price discovery be so low at the beginning versus the France ones where they were just so high, I want the opposite. Yeah. Those aren't the cards I'm buying. The France cards are not what I'm buying.
Yeah, this chart is very unusual, I would say. But when you take a bit of a look back at the auctions before, in March and in April, you had like settlements at 0.5, even 0.7, but that was during maybe the frenzy, I would say. So I guess when you see that someone is buying at 0.2, it seems like a good deal, because some people still bought it at like 0.7 or 0.6. So even buying at 0.3 seems like a pretty good deal if you take the whole history. But it's really weird. I checked the time for the auction, and it's 12 p.m. in the US and 6 o'clock in Paris, which is usually a pretty good time for Sorare, because some people are just getting back from work and say, let's spend the money I just earned today and buy a card. And that was pretty much the time when I bought Loris too. So I know the feeling, and it's pretty unique, I guess, in the ecosystem and on Sorare.
Andy, I have to call you out on this. So we were talking about how some of these MLS cards that we had been looking for were ending at like 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning in the US on the East Coast. And we were both giving Sorare credit and cursing them because they timed these France auctions perfectly for everybody to just buy them. Because we were looking at some and we were like, oh, maybe overnight in France when everybody's sleeping, we can snag some of these. And you look at the schedule on SorareData and you're like, wait a minute, this one doesn't, oh no. And you're like,
we went through like 3 days worth trying to find some auctions that might end in odd times, and there just weren't any. They were like perfect timing for, people that live overseas.
Yeah, but I guess we'll enter an interesting time around France cards, because now every player has basically 30 cards or something. And so that's usually where prices dip a bit. So we'll see if people are still buying, or if there are many people just waiting for their turn to arrive and waiting for a good price. But I checked the data, and in 4 days, well, from I think it was Monday, from Monday to today, there were auctions settling for a total of 280 ETH just for Friends cards.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a big number. And so that's I think I think it's like 300 auctions, so 300 cards for 288 ETH. And I checked the whole FC Nantes auctions from the beginning of Nantes being on Sorare, which is November 2019. Well, December, whatever. And it's 191 ETH. The total FC Nantes cards auctions for more than 2,000 cards. And I checked Marseille also, which is a pretty famous club in France, landed on Sorare in July 2020. It's 330 ETH, the whole history. So, I mean, France has to be the most amazing thing that happened to Sorare. But PSG, there's a long way to go until PSG, because PSG is like more than 1,000 ETH, like 1,010 ETH. So yeah, pretty big numbers right
cool.
there.
Hey guys, not to change topics or anything, but just wanted to say hey to Quinny, Vespasian, Mike Baston, there are a couple guys commenting here, and we do have a question from Quinny if you guys would like to take that on.
I saw Quinny comment, and I'm just like, this is a bizarro world, because I'm used to actually watching him and commenting on his videos. I love this question though. It says, what do you guys think of the XP season bonus rule adjustment? Good penance for guys not getting new season cards quick enough. I honestly was like outraged when they announced it, partially because a buddy of mine, Trippin' B on Sorare, has brought this up like for weeks. Like as soon as they took it away from the MLS cards from last season, and there was like no announcement that the new cards were coming. It was like we had this dead zone where we had zero bonus on cards, even though MLS games were going on and there were no new ones. And they kind of, I don't want to say they like brushed him off, but they basically were like, yeah, well, nah, we're okay. And then they just like announce it now with this second set of cards. Like, I think, outraged is very dramatic. I wasn't like grabbing a pitchfork, but it was like a bummer, because like we should have had some sort of bonus. If like if the idea is you have a bonus until you can buy new cards, then like we had like months where we couldn't get it.
In the end, they got it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It took longer than everyone would have liked, but they got it right. And I think that's why when they announced it, it was like, that was like the one announcement where everybody was just like, oh, okay, yeah, good. Like there was no fighting it. There was no like, or actually it was like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, to me it lacks a bit of transparency and and scheduling on the release of cards. I mean, I was outraged. I will use that word to see that they were not communicating on West Ham not being on the platform in 2020.
Sure.
Because while people understood that with Liverpool integrated in the platform and not having any other English clubs, that would probably mean that West Ham was not on the platform that year. But I mean, just Sorare just saying, coming on record and say, guys, it is not planned right now that West Ham will have 2020, 2021 cards, would have, I guess, affected the market. And I guess it's not, the community would have not cried a river because West Ham was not on the platform that year. But I think that's good to have that transparency and have, let's say, over the next month, at least indications of which cards will be released and which teams will be released. And I heard they were going to do like some kind of a public library of this kind of information. I don't know when, or I don't know how this information will be released, but definitely it's frustrating that to have like to wait for a month to have new editions without having like let's say an estimation of the timeline.
Yeah, I've asked multiple times, and I know that you have too, HG, and feedback where, we everybody wants to know when you're going to stop minting cards for a team or a league. Like the MLS cards, it would have been nice to know like when will you be done minting them, and what is the rule? Is there a rule? There should be a rule. Like once the new
Yeah.
season starts, do we stop, or we only stop once we get the new ones? And then what's the rule for when we get the new ones? Like, and I know, Laird, you even mentioned this a few times. Like a lot of the new MLS cards we waited all this time for, and they don't even have new pictures. It's just like the same picture, which I'm totally fine with. But like, why did we wait for them if it's just the same thing?
Yeah, and yeah, I was really outraged, and I mean the word is correct because I was really mad at seeing cards from 2020 still being sold in 2021. I guess January is fine, maybe February is okay.
Yeah.
March begins to be borderline, and April is like
Yeah.
we're a
What are we
quarter
doing?
in 21 already.
Yeah.
So what are we doing right now? And I guess that affects a bit of the trust that the users are putting in Sorare, because the whole concept is having rare cards that are sold during the proper year. So if they are selling 2020 cards in 2021, it opens the door to so many other things. Like why not having 2018 cards being maxed out next year? I mean, if you don't clarify your position on the subject, I guess it's
Sorry, I
a
just
problem.
found something. Bob in chat said Coronel, goalkeeper for New York Red Bull, has a gray photoshopped body, and he does. Go look it up.
Yeah.
How do
I
you
think
say it, Coronel?
Yeah,
Coronel, yeah.
Yeah.
Coronel, and
Okay.
it's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, that's
What
that's
the?
bad. I think one of the problems. So I got in like a Twitter discussion about this, which we all know like how Twitter discussions can go. But somebody was kind of pointing out that the biggest problem with, well, not the biggest problem, but there's something fundamentally wrong with selling 2020 cards after the 2021 season has begun. And the argument there was like, well, they're going to mint too many cards. And it's like, well, fundamentally, they can't mint more than 100. But if you look at it from like a 365-day span, theoretically, they could mint more than 100 cards for a player. It just happens to be, 75 from one season and let's call it like 30 from another. So, or from the next season. So now we have like more than 100 rare cards in a calendar year. And while the selling point is like the scarcity is 100 per season, they're like really stretching what the definition of a season is, where yes, we'll never get more than 200 rare cards of a player in 2 consecutive seasons, but it does feel just a little weird when in a year, like an actual calendar year, we're going to go past the scarcity that they claim we have. And obviously the next year there'll be less because they have to make up, they already used it in this year, but I don't know. It feels wrong when you could have more than 100 cards in a calendar year, even though they say we don't.
Yeah, definitely. And we were at a point where people were shouting for more rewards and more cards in the prize pools. And why not using those cards to actually reward people in SO5 at this point? I mean, I guess the answer was a bit. I didn't really get the answer. Pretty much the answer was on the subject. Well, it would be a shame not selling those cards. I'm like, yeah, sure. Not making money is a shame for you, but I mean, do you understand the consequences of what's actually done? And I mean, sure, I didn't lose confidence and trust in Sorare because of this, but if you're a newcomer, it always doesn't look good when you see 2020 cards being sold in April 2021.
for all of us that already had those cards and they're selling those cards without the bonus, they're obviously selling for less because A, they don't have the bonus, and B, they're, the 80th mint or whatever. To us, it's like, oh, they're devaluing our stuff by selling it without the bonus. And, the data speaks, the data says, on SorareData, it says that the cards are selling for less. And there are reasons for that.
Minting cards with no bonus that was actually outrageous.
Yes, agreed.
I remember when, like, early on, for me, my thought was like the older cards should be more valuable because like older things are more valuable than new ones. And it's like, no, you get a bonus for the new cards. And it's like, well, why do you do that? And it's like, well, because we have to buy them. Like they have to sell cards, so they have to make the new ones more attractive. And it's like, okay, I get it. And then they mint without a bonus, and it's like, I'm not really there was. So we're not only are you buying cards with no XP, but we also had no idea when the new ones were coming. So like, is the card I'm about to buy with no bonus the last one? Are there 10 more after this? And I think like I realized that they can't be so transparent with their legal agreements that they're like, this is the day that we're going to do it. We're going to release all the new MLS cards on April 15th. And they can't say this in February. But I feel like fundamentally that's the transparency that we all want, because if we don't know, we know that they can go up to 100. But if we know that they're not, I don't want to buy card 79 if I know they're going to 100. But if I know they're stopping at 80, then maybe I feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah, sure. And also, I think they kind of need, no, not need, but lack some, let's say, customer service. Like when they announced, like, the XP, when you transfer a card, you would lose half of the XP. There were some changes at the time. I don't remember correctly, but it was impacting the game a lot. And you could have said, just give a boost of experience to all the cards that are affected by the change, and people would say, okay, let's do it, no problem. But I mean, there you could have said like, okay, we'll give a boost of 5% to all the cards that were sold from this point on, or maybe not a 5% boost, but let's say a 2 or 3%. And that would have been, let's say, a good gesture to say, okay, maybe we did the bad things on the XP side, but at least we're trying to make it up to you by trying to not have completely worthless cards because they have no XP. And I mean, also, just to finish on the XP side, I mean, training is completely broken. Training is a shame. Training should not happen. Training is a disgrace. I can go on and on and on for days. Just auto-train the cards, give them less XP. I don't care, but don't reward people because they just spend endless minutes trying to put lineups. I mean, I still don't get it. I still don't get why it's there.
A new SorareData request is to know which cards I have in lineups and to build my training lineups for me and then import them.
Yeah, sure. I won't do that because that would mean I endorse training.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I won't do that.
Going back to the West Ham thing for a second, do you guys expect Liverpool to be done?
Sure.
Like, do we know?
We don't know.
What?
Like, are you expecting another season of Liverpool?
No.
We
don't know for sure. But no.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. But if you take a look back at history, they signed West Ham, they signed Liverpool. Now that you have Liverpool cards, and now that Liverpool isn't a really good football team, you can go and sign Manchester City and have a great season of great cards. So I mean, why would you re-sign Liverpool if you can get another English club?
But the expectation is that they really can only do one at a time. Like, do we know that?
They haven't said it, but I've heard that Panini has some kind of rule where anybody else that wants to do deals with EPL, it can only be one licensed team at a time, something like that. But it has to do with an exclusive agreement Panini has with the EPL. It's my understanding.
My understanding is when we get EPL, we get all the clubs. And having more than 2 clubs means that they basically have all the clubs. Because if I understood it correctly, the deal is more on the league level than on the clubs level. So, but I guess Nicolas was not wrong when he said that everything can happen. It's just contracts and dealing with this. So I guess they just need to find some kind of deal that works for everyone. So I guess we just need to be patient, and hopefully they onboard the whole French championship that is way more attractive than English football, and have like pretty good Brest players that you guys will enjoy having in your tier 3 rewards.
There are plenty of tier 2s out there. It wasn't just tier 3 expansion.
I mean, and also on tiers, while I'm at it, let's bring tier 4 and tier 5, and let's just end up the tier 3 mess and the tier 3. I don't want to sound too aggressive, but drama. I would say the tier 3 drama. I guess that they are doing it fine in one perspective, which would be like, you don't know what you're going to get, and that's the fun of a large tier of players. But I mean, the difference between what you can get from the high end of the pool and the low end is too damn big.
Yeah, for
at
sure.
least to me.
What do you think the right number is for tiers?
I mean, I guess 4 or 5 is okay. I mean, it depends on the number of players that you have, but like right now it has to be 4,500 players. So I guess that if you have like 10 to 15 players in the first tier, maybe 20 to 50 in the tier 1, and maybe 100 to 200 in tier 2, because tier 2 is not that big.
Yeah.
I mean, that means that there are a lot of players in tier 3, and also tier 4 and 5 could be used to put like non-starters and injured players, like long injured players, in those, without, of course, having Neymar in those tiers because he is injured for 6 months. But I mean, it's a complicated system to put in place, of course. But I mean, they have to, I guess, in my opinion, do a better job with the rewards tiers.
I think that's fair. We're going a little longer than I thought we expected, although we could probably go for like 3 more hours.
Sure.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
Bob mentioned the English national team. I think that would be big for the platform. I think if I could add any national team, it would probably be, well, okay, I take that back. Maybe the U.S. men's national team. That might be fun, right? I mean, we already know where you stand on this, HG. So you don't get to speak here. We know which national team you think is best.
I think the important thing though is the English national team brings players, and we saw this with Lloris is one example, but like guys from unlicensed clubs, like the MLS ones are mostly, I mean, not all. We obviously don't have like Pulisic.
Oh, the U.S. men's national team would bring in a ton of unlicensed players.
But I think I don't see the upside in obviously doing both would be great, but like when you have the English team
and Sancho and those guys are going to sell for ridiculous amounts of money.
Right.
Yeah, but it depends on what your strategy is, because let's say that right now the 3 biggest countries on Sorare are France in terms of users are France. Let's say UK and Italy like at the same place, and maybe Germany and United States. So what do you want to do? Do you want to satisfy your current users and bring on, let's say, England or Scotland or Italy? Or do you want to go and find like Spain or Portugal, where maybe you don't have that many users? Or the United States would be also a good idea, because there are not a lot of American users on Sorare. So I guess it will be fun to watch, but I expect some cool teams to land on the platform.
Andy, would you rather a Chelsea Pulisic or a U.S. national team Pulisic?
U.S. national team.
Okay.
There's something cool about the national team ones, and like even the French ones. Like I would love one of every one of those cards. Every single one of them would love to own one. Will never happen, but I mean, I might only get one or two of them, but they're really cool cards.
I agree.
Hey, if you stop eating for like 2 months and you just live under a bridge, maybe you can afford.
Yeah, feed my family ramen every day.
I mean, you have to set up priorities, and that's.
Sorry, kids, ramen again. Actually, they might be happy with that. Okay.
How else are you planning on sending them to college? Other than
send them to French college. It's free. It's pretty
Is it free
okay.
for Americans though? Can Americans go to French college for free?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I guess it's definitely less expensive than a U.S. college anyway. And even with the apartment and the food, etc. I mean, like France, like even expensive schools in France, like 10K a year.
Maybe we could get HG just to temporarily like adopt our kids and just send them to French schools.
Get the nationality and get to school and go back to the US. Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have a big apartment of about 50 square meters. Yeah. So I guess they could fit.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll send you a few cards for free. People will outrage because it looks like I'm, giving you stuff for free. Just whale to whale.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Only FC Nantes players, please.
Hey guys,
only
I got
Padua cards.
Okay. See, Andy.
See you
Yeah.
back.
So thank you for that, Maxime. Always awesome when you come on and join us, because it's just a really fun perspective. Once again, this is the RotoWire, the SorareAndrews podcast, brought to you by RotoWire. That is Maxime over there from SorareData. I think this SorareData and chill thing should become a regular thing. So I can't imagine anybody is against that. So we'll have to have you back on quite often, Maxime. But yeah,
Sure.
Thank you for that, and good luck with everything else.
Yeah, thank you. And always a pleasure to be on. And I'll see you soon then.